Right, folks, hello, and here we go again. Here's another little video of driving in Malaysia, and I thought that for today's video, uh, I would sort of like talk a little bit about driving. What it is like to drive a car in Malaysia. Because some of you folks are out of, not from this country, you might be from some other parts of Asia, and the traffic here is different, and people sort of like drive differently. For those of you who intend to visit Malaysia and are considering driving here, this video might be a little bit of an eye-opener, because driving conditions and traffic is not quite the same as in many other countries, I would say. As compared to Western countries or very developed countries, traffic, the way people drive here might seem to be a little haphazard and crazy, but then again, in comparison to some other countries in Asia, for example, Thailand or Vietnam or India, driving here is like a very sedate kind of a thingy, but nevertheless, it is good to know what you are dealing with when you're driving. So here we go. I'm on my way to drive to Penang for my regular Sunday gig. I live in a small town which is called Kulim, and I've just left my home. As you can see, we have proper roads, and we have traffic lights and intersections and stuff like that, so it's all very civilized. But pay attention to some of the things that I point out, and notice, first of all, notice these small little mosquito-like motorcycles, which are like glorified bicycles on wheels. They are all over the place in Asia, and in Malaysia. Even though there are rules and regulations that they are supposed to follow, you'll find that very often the motorcyclists, just like many of the people who are driving cars and trucks and other things, don't quite drive in what would be considered to be a sensible and safe way. So most of these motorcyclists in small towns, drive their motorcycles because, well, they are cheap and they are convenient, but they pay little regard to road safety regulations, as well as basic personal safety steps. For example, everyone is supposed to be wearing a proper certified crash helmet, but in the small towns and the rural areas, many people disregard this when they are riding their motorcycles for short distances, which means that even if they have a minor fall, they can sustain a severe head injury. And on top of that, many of them do not wear proper clothing and attire. They might be wearing just flimsy t-shirts, dress in shorts, not wearing boots or shoes, but just flip-flops, which means that if they even have a minor fall, their skin is exposed to severe abrasions from the road injuries. And when you're driving a car or a truck or any other vehicle, you'll find that these people tend to swarm all over the place. So you have to be very mindful of their presence and possible presence Hey guys, this road seems to be a bit weird now. It's because I am me and I'm taking a shortcut to Penang, driving through a small, like a village-ish area that only locals know. Well, only locals know about this road. So, what can I say? Yeah, I like driving off the beaten track, so to speak, but I like driving on paved roads, and so every once in a while, if I really know the road well, I might take a small non-main road path like this. But don't worry, for this video this is only going to be for a short stretch. Here we go. We are coming into a proper road now. So I'll be commenting on the different kinds of traffic that we encounter, maybe road signs and stuff like that. But I started off by sort of like telling you about the cycles. We call them motorcycles here. I suppose if you are in like I don't know, Australia or whatever, you are used to big 1000cc bikes, and these small tiny things are like mosquitoes. Yeah, but that's what most people ride over here. Yeah, you don't find many bicycle riders on the main roads in Malaysia. It's just not safe for them. Yeah. So here we go. We are now driving on a very quiet stretch of road. It's more like a road that would connect very small towns or villages in Malaysia. By and large, connecting from big cities, there is a system of tollways, or we call them highways over here, which are like dual carriage roads, wide enough. Dual, sometimes even three lanes of traffic on each side. But like I said, I like driving along the more picturesque roads, when I can get away with it, so to speak. Alright, now on to traffic. Well, we don't have that many of the motorcycles here in this right now, so let's talk about cars and traffic. Yeah. Now, in general, if you're driving in Malaysia, I would strongly urge you to always leave early, on your journey to wherever you're going. Don't be in a rush, because driving in a rush in Malaysia is just asking for trouble. People generally do not abide by how would I say, proper traffic regulations. Look, a pickup truck just overtook me, and this is on a road where the center lines are double lined. Yeah, so when there's a double center line in the road, it means you're not allowed to overtake. Haha. And this guy's just done it, and and this is a road, this particular stretch of road is largely double center lined, because there are lots of sharp bends on this road, and so you can't really see the oncoming traffic, and cars, bicycles, trucks, the occasional cow or two, you all use this road. Yeah. So driving at a high speed and overtaking is dangerous, just dangerous. Yeah. But what can I say? Yeah. So if you're driving in Malaysia, you have to be mindful of the fact that there are all of these let's just say less than sensible drivers around. And like I said, the first thing to do is like be timely and give yourself lots of time for your drive so you don't need to be rushing. And once you're driving along a road, whether it's a rural road or a city road or a highway, I would say avoid sudden changes in pace. Don't brake suddenly, don't accelerate suddenly, because, well, firstly, if you put on sudden brakes, the guy behind you might not have time to react, and so he might bump into you. And if you accelerate suddenly, well, everybody else, oncoming traffic, the guys behind you, and whoever is in front of you or whatever, they don't quite know how to estimate where you will be at any given point, because they won't know when you're going to stop accelerating. So generally speaking, I find that sudden moves are a recipe for disaster and danger. Yeah. So I would say just drive with the flow of the general traffic in whichever lane that you are in. And another thing is, you got to keep a good distance away from the guy in front of you. So just in case he brakes suddenly, you have time to brake gently to react. The idea is not just to avoid bumping into the guy in front of you who brakes suddenly. The idea is also to give the whoever is behind you time enough to react when you start braking in response to the person in front. If that doesn't make sense to you, yeah, you shouldn't be driving in Malaysia, at least. Yeah. So here we go again. Yeah. And you'll notice that even though that guy in that pickup truck overtook me somewhat dangerously, I would say, he's not really gotten very far, because there's so many other vehicles in front of him. The road is curving and winding a lot, so he can't really get anywhere. So if you are the sort of person who is very impatient and very impulsive, and you drive that way, you are not really going to get to your destination any faster. You probably just achieve a higher blood pressure and high stress levels anyway. Yeah. And if you're a visitor to Malaysia, not very familiar with driving in Malaysia, and if you're the impatient sort, I'd say go hire a taxi or something like that. Don't drive in Malaysia. Yeah, you're just asking for trouble. Now, having said which, this point in time, the road is quite nice, and the view is good. Yeah, but you can't take your eyes off the road, so to speak, because well, you got to be alert for all sorts of things. Yeah, here's a guy happily walking along the road, and walking in that particular direction. Yeah, I mean, with your back to the traffic, it's not really good. Yeah, he should have been walking on the opposite side of the road. So he's walking facing the oncoming traffic. That way he can notice if there is a wide vehicle like a truck or something that's coming, and he can step aside. Yeah. Right now, with his back turned towards the traffic, he just has to rely on whatever higher being there is to ensure that all the traffic passing him is aware of him and is going to give him space when the road is narrow. Yeah. That unfortunately is not always the case. Like I say, there are lots of weird drivers over here. And look at that guy with the pickup. Yeah, easily he's in a hurry to go somewhere. Yeah, a few minutes early in this world, and sometimes many years early into the next. That's what they used to say. Alright, so we're approaching a small township kind of a thingy. All sorts of street signs. There's a traffic light there. On the right of it is a mosque. This set of traffic lights is quite common where there is a mosque or a place of worship. a church or whatever, or a school, and it's usually to help the pedestrians, you know. So most of the time it will be green for traffic, and then when it's when there are pedestrians crossing, they either press a button or there's a timer for the lights to change. Now, if you are at a small town, at a small crossing like this, and you see a traffic light that is turned red, and you look at the road and everything seems clear, for God's sake, don't just speed on. Slow down and stop. Give respect to the traffic sign, because the last thing in the world that you want to do is knock down some villager or some kid that's trying to cross the road. You'll occasionally see vehicles that do not pay respect to traffic lights and stuff like that. Do not follow them. Just do not follow them. It's against the law and it's bad. And then it sort of goads other people into also breaking the traffic regulations. Now, signboards, when you see that green colored signboard, like we just passed by, a big thingy, that usually is an indicator that you are approaching an intersection that will lead you to a highway system, a tolled highway system. And that's where the road becomes like a dual carriageway and more proper, so to speak. But it then becomes a boring drive. You have a different set of challenges that you will face when you're driving along the highways, as I'll explain when we come to it. All right, most of the signboards in Peninsular Malaysia are in the local Malay language, and so if you're a visitor, it would be good to work out a couple of the signs and what they mean. Fortunately, the arrows and stuff like that are pointing, most of those road signs tend to follow international norms. So a left arrow does mean left and stuff. I'll explain some of the signs as we come along. I don't want this to be a confusing kind of a video. So let's just see what we're facing. Okay, we've now merged into a highway, a tolled highway. This one is a dual lane highway, and it is leading and connecting my town Kulim to Butterworth, and later it will intersect with the main north-south highway system. For each of these highways, there is a speed limit that you have to respect, or that you should respect. All right. The main north-south highway has a speed limit of 110 kilometers an hour for cars. It's less for trucks and heavy vehicles, but you must not assume that people will be respecting the speed limits, even though there are speed traps, and they could be fined, but still you must not assume that others are going to be following the speed limit. So be always aware of the speed at which you are driving and be wary. On a dual lane highway like this, the left lane is for general traffic, which is moving a bit slower, and the right lane, which is the center lane in this case, the right lane is for when you are overtaking. Once you overtake traffic in front, that I am going to do, put on your indicator much before you overtake. Once you overtake the traffic in front, once you finish overtaking, you should go back into the slower lane. That will allow whoever is driving behind you faster than you to overtake you. and merge back into slower lane. Sometimes people don't bother, they just occupy a position on the faster lane and they continue trying to overtake the other traffic. Usually these are people who are driving faster than the designated speed limit. On this particular highway, the speed limit is 90 kilometers an hour, right? So there are many people who would ignore the speed limit and drive faster, and then you'll notice that the car that just overtook me, he's on the right lane and he didn't go back into the left lane. This guy who just overtook me did so, but there are other vehicles behind him and they're all happily keeping to the right lane and driving fast. The danger with hogging the right lane is that invariably there's some other person who is more of an idiot than you and he's driving even faster than you are, and then he wants to overtake you. And if you're hogging the right lane, then he's got no way to overtake you. Honking at you or horning at you might not work. Many of them will try to flash their headlamps at you, hoping that you notice that through your rear view mirror. But if it's a hot sunny day, you might not notice that. And then they'll resort to what a lot of drivers here seem to do. They'll cut in and try to overtake you on your left, which is on the wrong side. Yeah, that's the dangerous side to be overtaking from. And then they'll do that. And if it so happens that they are overtaking you on the left, just at the time that you realize that, I'm driving on the fast side and I don't need to, and then you start taking your car towards the left lane, that's it. Yeah, you got a collision in hell, waiting. So try not to hog the right lane. And the other thing that you need to do, always keep a fair distance from the traffic in front, and always keep glancing at your rear view mirror as well as your side mirrors, just to have a feel for the other traffic that's around. When you're driving on the highway, no doubt you're driving, everybody's going in the same general direction, but people are moving at different speeds and they are moving in different lanes. And as long as you keep within the flow of your lane, you're fairly safe. Yeah, but there are other people who are from other lanes and they might be cutting in and out of one lane and trying to dash their way around, and they pose a danger. So you've got to keep looking at your rear view mirrors and side mirrors just to notice what other traffic is around. Okay, we're approaching a toll booth. When you approach toll stations in Malaysia, they are all cashless generally. I have gone into a lane which is using a radio frequency tag reader. So I have a radio frequency ID tag on my car. They call it RFID. And generally, so I'm just driving through. There are other systems. Some people use what they call touch and go cards, which are little preloaded cards, and then you can tap it on a reader as you pass through a toll station. And at present, there's also another kind of a card which is called a smart card. That is like the touch and go card, which fits into a small unit, which then emits a certain frequency and it can be read by a transmitter. Yeah, it's not the same as the radio frequency ID tag, which is the RFID. So this is another system called the touch smart tag system. Sorry. Here we notice, yep, a mosquito is overtaking me from the left. Yeah, roaring away gloriously, happily, oblivious to the fact that he's overtaken me on my wrong side. I'm now going to merge into the main north-south highway system, so I'm going to exit this particular highway thingy. I had given my indicator a fair bit ago, and you'll notice another little motorcycle thingy had overtaken me. This guy's got a pink basket at the back, which means he's from one of those food delivery companies. I don't want to name the particular company, but these people drive very dangerously. They are weaving in and out of traffic all of the time because they are in a hurry to deliver. They get paid per delivery, and so sometimes they can be absolute pests on the road. Okay, I've gone into one road thingy, and now I need to merge into the main north-south highway, and I've got to go into the right. You can probably notice that there is congested traffic over there, and what can I say? You just got to go into the traffic, yeah. Now, here, getting into congested traffic and moving along the highway system, you face another set of challenges, yeah. Keep in mind that you still want to keep a fair distance from the traffic in front of you. You don't want to make sudden moves, but right now I need to move towards the rightmost lane. So I've got my eye on my rear view side mirror just to look at the traffic there, given my signal, my indicator, to try to indicate to these guys that, hey, I need to move into the right. I'm looking to see if there's any vehicle that's giving me way. There's one car behind me that has kindly slowed down and left space for me, so now I'm one lane in, and I still want to move to one more lane. I've given my indicator, and there's another car that's also given space from me, and then I'm in, yeah. So nicely and safely crossed the lanes. Now, what you may notice sometimes is that there are some drivers, or on your unlucky day, many drivers who seem to be trying to push their way into favorable lanes. They don't sort of like give their indicators way ahead of their movement, and then they are trying to suddenly cut into a space that they think is favorable for them. That is just bad driving. Not just bad manners in driving, but it's also dangerous in driving, because if they cut into a space, they cannot be sure that the vehicles that are in their way are going to respond with how would I say, with proper reflexes, yeah. It might be some nervous guy, driving a car, they're cutting ahead into him, and then he's nervous, he just slams on his brakes, yeah. And then when he slams on his brakes, the car behind him has got no time to respond, and then here we go, we have an accident, So generally speaking, like I say, if you drive and you are using sudden moves, it's dangerous, and you are not making anybody's life easier, not even your own, yeah. So try to drive a little bit gently, yeah. I know that some days I'm in an irritable mood, and then maybe I'm not driving as properly as I should, but if you try to make it a habit, to drive a bit sensibly, then chances are, by second nature, yeah, even when you're not in a good mood, you drive a little bit more sensibly. And again, try to give yourself enough time to make a decent drive. If you estimate that it's going to take you 45 minutes to get from wherever you are to wherever you want to go, leave about 15 or 20 minutes earlier. That way, You don't have to rush when you're driving, or if traffic is not flowing smoothly, you still don't get too agitated, because you've given yourself ample time. Now, when you're driving in Malaysia, when you're choosing your route for driving, or even if you already know the route that you're driving on, it's good to be using one of these GPS aided driving apps, and that app will sort of like guide you on the routes to take. It could warn you if there is a roadblock, or there is a traffic congestion at a certain area, and suggest alternate routes. Many people use Google Maps or Google Drive for this. In Malaysia, I would say that probably the better app to be using is something that is called Waze. W-A-Z-E. Waze. That's what I use. In fact, I have it on now in my car. Even though I drive this route every week, I have it on. The audio for it is muted because my mobile is now it's now recording audio from my voice, so to speak. And Waze is good. It's got a nice map. It displays on my car's information screen, and there are little information displays that will say when the next exit is, where you're going to turn to, and if there's traffic congestion. And it also gives you an estimated time of arrival to wherever you're going. Right now it's telling me that I am 48 minutes away from my destination. It being a Sunday and traffic being slow, this drive generally takes about 1 hour and a half. On my return journey at night, traffic is light, but it being night, I still don't drive fast. I just follow the regular speed limits. But that traffic being clear, it only takes me an hour to reach back home generally. So I know that I shall be arriving at my destination at about 4:05 p.m. It is now 3:16 p.m. and that is good enough time for me to get ready for my gig, which only starts at 5:30. So I am in no particular rush. I can try to just drive steadily and sort of like enjoy the drive, so to speak. Okay, here we go again. Little mosquito motorcycles. They've overtaken me from my left. They're happily riding along. For Malaysian standards, these guys are doing well, and they're doing decently, but if you're not used to the Asian motorcycle drivers, you might be a bit horrified at the fact that they've overtaken me from the wrong side, so to speak, and one of them then overtook another car on my left lane from its left side. So he's like cross lanes and went into the really dangerous side. You'll see what can I say? You'll see crazier examples of this motorcycle driving thingy later on as we come into Penang Island. Okay, right now we are about to access the Penang Bridge. Penang is an island. I live on the mainland, so there is a bridge of a few kilometers, 8 or 10 kilometers, and again there is like a toll that you pay to use the bridge. And again, I have found my way to the RFID lane so that it can just read my tag. You know, once upon a time, you needed to stop at these tollways and then pay cash and wait for the person to give you change. And gradually they are automating things, and so now it's more convenient. But at the same time, some people have probably lost their jobs, haven't they? Alright, we are now on the Penang Bridge. At the Penang Bridge, the speed limit is 80 kilometers an hour I believe in most sections, and some sections might even have just a 60 kilometer limit. There are 3 lanes going in each direction. Traffic here can be rather challenging to drive, because even though it's like a bridge and there are 3 lanes, there are invariably some people who are in too much of a hurry, and they start weaving in and out of the lanes, and many people will drive faster than the speed limit. In fact, even I'm just following the flow of traffic, because I find that the safest way to drive along roads in Malaysia, when you're in like lanes like this, in cities or on highways, you got to keep to the speed of the lane that you are in. But I was on the rightmost lane, and the speed limit is 80, and I am now driving at about 87 now. I would normally just merge into the middle lane or another lane, but on the Penang Bridge, the driving challenges are unique. So you'll notice that now this very lane, the vehicle speeds have slowed down. Right, we are now at about 35 kilometers an hour, and this need not be due to any obstacles on the road or any vehicle breakdown. It's just that some vehicles might be trying to weave from one lane into the other, and in the process, they are causing the other lanes drivers to hit their brakes and lose speed. And this problem gets compounded by the fact that the center span of the Penang Bridge is high, is elevated. That is to allow ships to be able to pass underneath. So there is a steep slope at the center span, and heavy vehicles, trucks and buses will just slow down. They lose momentum and speed as they are climbing the center span, right? As they lose momentum, then the cars that are behind them will obviously have to slow down as well. And when they start slowing down, they're like, oh, this lane is too slow, and they'll try to cut into the faster moving lane on the right, which leads to the center of the road. And then those guys who are on the right lanes, like, guys are cutting into my lane, I got to slow down. And so anyway, there's like a cascading effect that goes on. And to make things even more interesting, there are always some people who seem to have a lot of spare mental energy on hand, and they'll be looking for for lanes that seem to be moving a little bit faster, so they'll be switching lanes to lanes that they think are moving faster, you know, then switching back to the original lane when the so-called faster lane isn't really moving faster, you know. I mean, like, you know, everybody's going in the same direction, so why doesn't everybody just drive peacefully and peaceably, you know, at a reasonable speed, and then everybody gets there, yeah. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, yeah. It doesn't work that way. And then when we get onto Penang Island itself, the traffic on this bridge will split into different directions depending on whether, you know, they are going to the left or to the right. You can probably notice from the video that you know, the road is sloping up. This is the center span area, and over in the distance we can see Penang Island. We are approaching actually the east coast of Penang Island, yeah. So on the right it is north-ish, and on towards the left it is south-ish, yeah. Towards the left is where the airport is and the industrial areas, and towards the right is where Georgetown is. And if you want to go across to the other side of the island where the popular tourist beaches are, well, you have to go a little bit to the right, approaching Georgetown, and then cut across the island towards the western beaches, yeah. I hope I've got my directions, you know, north, south, east, west, sort of like right, but hey, you know, I'm focusing on driving, yeah. I'm not looking at a map. So we've crossed the center span. You know, some of the scenery might look lovely. There's a sea and stuff like that. But if you're driving in Malaysia, as I always say, yeah, keep focusing on the road, keep focusing on the traffic, yeah. Look at your rear view mirror, at your side view mirrors, you know, from time to time. Well, traffic is moving peacefully at this stretch, yeah. So you will notice that, you know, whatever congestion there was earlier is not present now, and since we are still on that same road, you know, it just means that there was really no necessity for that congestion earlier. And like I said, the only reason why it occurred was because some vehicles were losing speed as they were climbing up the steeper slope to the center span, yeah. Oh well, alright. Traffic speed limit here has dropped down to 70 kilometers an hour, which is generally the speed limit for city driving in Malaysia, or in Georgetown, Penang at least, yeah. In some of the smaller towns, the city speed could be even lower, so you just need to be aware, you know. Look at the red circle sign with the number in the center. That's in kilometers per hour. By God, yeah. Some of you folks don't think it's miles per hour, yeah. It's kilometers per hour. And here we've got the sign saying Georgetown to the right, and, you know, logo. Bayan Lepas is where the airport is. So traffic is still good, and it is going to merge shortly with more traffic, and this is the coastal road in Penang, and here we get another set of traffic congestion. Keeping to this lane will take me all the way into Georgetown, but in a little while I shall be cutting across the island, so I need to go towards my left, and I need to gently work my way to the left. There were a couple of cars that overtook me just now from my wrong side, but then again, when traffic is merging across multiple lanes like this, there are vehicles from the left which need to go towards the right, so it's not fair to say that they were cutting across on the wrong side. But I will once again reaffirm that you need to try to keep a constant speed and not make sudden changes in speed when you're changing lanes. This way, anybody else who's driving and wanting to get into your lane or overtake you or whatever, they can estimate their own driving speed and stuff, yeah. Because if you hit the brakes or if you accelerate, it's difficult for people to sort of like fully anticipate and comprehend your change in speed. They only know where you are, and and the kind of the distance that you seem to have covered. Here's a guy who wants to come in, but he obviously is saving on his electricity and is not even bothered to turn on an indicator, and he's moving. I say he, could be a she, but you know what I mean. And he's moving like very slowly, much slower than the general flow of traffic. That's not good. That's dangerous. Alright, we've come into another section, and this is a road that cuts right across Penang. I don't want to make this particular video be too long. I'm going to stop the video and then restart as a fresh video in case I need to do some video edits. It's easier. Yeah. So this video is going to stop now for a while.